Hello friends, I'm here today to share with you my August wrap up. I finally didn't just read 16 books for the month. I think I was going on like 3 or 4 months of just 16, but I made it to 19 this month. So the first, I think 7 that I'm going to talk about were from the Romance Takeover Readathon, so I have a vlog for that, so I'm going to kind of just skim through those and tell you what they are and what my rating was, and then if you want my thoughts you can ask me down below or go check out the vlog. So first, let me move this way for covers. First was The Romantic Agenda by Clara Kahn. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. Next was A Little Light Mischief by Cat Sebastian. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. Next was The Princess Problem by Christy Barth. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Next was The Change Up by Megan Quinn. I gave this one 3 stars. After that was Redeeming Lottie by Melissa Ellen. I gave this one 5 stars. Followed by The Bribe by Willa Nash, Devney Perry. I gave 4 stars. And also by Devney Perry was The Booty, or Willa Nash, Devney Perry was The Booty. I gave this one 3 stars. Okay, so those were from my Romance Takeover Readathon. After that, I read American Royalty by Tracy Livesay. I ended up rating this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I think it had more potential, but there was a bit of a pacing issue for me. Some parts seemed to be going really fast and sped through, and I felt like I wished she had kind of expanded more on certain things that she just kind of brushed over. This one is a British prince, and he has kind of suddenly been put in charge of this benefit for his grandfather, I think is who it was. And he doesn't really want to do it initially, so when they're in the very beginning planning stages, he's given a list of musical artists and just picks one called Duchess because he's royalty, and he's like, that'll be good. And he is not aware that she is a female rapper, and so she comes to England for the benefit concert, and actually ends up staying at his house because there was supposed to be a cottage ready for her, but it needed repairs. And so she actually ends up staying in his house, so it's a bit of a forced proximity that way. Like I said, I really liked it. I liked that she was a rapper who wanted to start her own skincare line, or was in the process of starting her own skincare line, and that he was a prince, but he really enjoyed teaching. So yeah, there was something a bit off about the timing of everything, the pacing of everything. Next was A Daring Pursuit by Kate Bateman. This is book 2 in the Ruthless Rivals series. I ended up giving this one 5 stars. I loved this so much. So this is Karis and Tristan, and Karis is, she's trying to avoid marriage, and she kind of falls into this, let me show you what you're missing by being married. I don't really want to call it a trap, but yeah. So they agree to, I think it's a week or 2, they're in Wales at one of those parties that last a while. I don't know if they have a technical name. But yeah, they're in Wales for this, I almost want to call it a retreat almost. But they agree to have a little something while they're there. Next, I read Voyeur by Fiona Cole. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I was really enjoying this one. So this one is about a college student. I cannot remember names, and I did not look it up. And she is having money issues. Terrible parenting, by the way. Her parents spent her scholarship money to where she couldn't even use it on school. Anyway. What was I saying? Yeah, sorry. She's having money issues, so she agrees to go to work for her roommate's, I think it says her uncle or somebody that she knew growing up, and basically he runs a voyeur club where people can go and watch other people. So the main character starts working at the club, and she is kind of drawn to this kind of mysterious guy who shows up and only ever wants to watch, and yeah. And then when classes start, I think this is over like Christmas break, she works there and like meets him and sees him and all that kind of stuff. Or sees him and then meets him and all that kind of stuff. And then she realizes that he is a professor for one of her classes. A class that she can't drop because she has to have it. So I really enjoyed this, like I said, but I ended up giving it 4 stars because there's something that makes the guy, like, I don't know how to say this without spoiling too much, but there's something that like makes him, there's like trauma that makes him be a voyeur. And that's kind of addressed in the 3rd act breakup. But I didn't really feel like it was addressed, if that makes sense. Or it's addressed in the 3rd act breakup, and then like when they're back together, he's fixed. Or like almost fixed or whatever. And I just didn't really love that whole situation. But yeah, I did give it 4 stars. I did really enjoy the relationship. I do think I'm going to continue on with the series. I believe the series is about people who work at the club. So there are some of them that I'm excited about seeing what their story might have. After that, I read The Devil in the Deep Blue Sea by Elizabeth O'Rourke. I gave this one 5 stars. I love this series so much. So this one is about Drew and Josh. And Drew is a rock star. She's having a bit of media perception trouble. And she goes on vacation with she plans to go on vacation with her ex-boyfriend and his family, but her ex-boyfriend is actually detained because he's in jail in like Japan or something. And so she ends up getting stuck with Josh, his older brother, who is a doctor, but he does like Doctors Without Borders or something like that, where he goes to like 3rd world countries and stays there for a really long time. And so they keep getting thrown together. I've loved their banter. They don't really get along at the beginning. But I loved their banter. I loved how they kept getting thrown together. And even sometimes when they weren't thrown together, it was like them like subconsciously making the decision to hang out with each other. And I really enjoyed the, like, after the vacation was over with, once she, like, is for sure done with his brother, because, like, technically they're supposed to be trying to work it out on the vacation, but then they don't, and so, when Drew and Josh split up, they don't know when they'll see each other next, and he doesn't know that she's for sure done with his brother, because nothing, I think there was a kiss, but nothing happened before then, and she's not technically with his brother, so I didn't feel like there was cheating. So I'm gonna point that out. I did not feel like there was cheating. Obviously, if you read it, you may feel that way. But yeah, I really liked how she went back, like, on the road, and he flew to her, and then there was this whole situation where she flew to him, and it made him mad because of how dangerous. Yeah. That was probably too much. That was probably a spoiler. Oh well, I loved this. I gave it 5 stars. After that was The Stand-In by Lily Chu. I gave this one 4 stars. I really liked this one. So this one is about Gracie, who is randomly asked one day to step in for this famous actress that she looks a lot like. And then while she is pretending to be this famous actress, because this actress, she needs a mental break from like the paparazzi and the like glitz and the glamour and all the things that she has to attend. Anyway, she ends up spending a lot of time with Sam, he's the current co-star of the woman that she's pretending to be. And so he kind of like helps her transition into pretending to be the actress. But yeah, I like this one a lot. I did give it 4 stars, like I said. There were just some things outside of the romance that are very spoilery that I did not feel quite satisfied by. And with like this little long book, how many pages is it? 361 pages. I felt like it was really long, and I felt like there were still some things that I was unsatisfied with the conclusion of. Next was Mama's Boy by Avery Flynn. I gave this one 4 stars. I have an issue with the name of it though. Cause like he wasn't really a mama's boy. Just because he answered his mom's phone calls a couple of times does not make him a mama's boy. Like it wasn't extreme. He just answered her phone calls. Like on a regular day, answered them. Anyway, so this one is about a group of cousins who their grandmother passes away and has left a present for one of them, but they don't know who it's for. That's really shiny. But they don't know who it's for, and then so they come up with this bet of the last man standing, the last single one, gets the present, but they all want the present because they really, like, they grew up with their grandmother and they really loved her, so they all want what it was that she was planning for them. So this is the first one about, does not even say his name, about Dixon. And Dixon meets Fiona, who's a Hartigan, who we met in Avery Flynn's Hartigan series. But she agrees to go on dates with him so he can prove to his cousins that he won't fall in love with her. But like that doesn't work. And I really enjoyed that I really enjoyed it. And I really appreciated that he told her about the bet and told her that he needed her to like be a bad date so his cousins would see that he wasn't going to fall for her and all of that. I appreciated that he told her and didn't like lead her on while having that expectation in his head. But yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. After that, I read The Off Limits Rule by Sarah Adams. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. This one is about a single mom who moves in with her brother, I believe in Nashville. I think is what the series is called, Nashville something. But yeah, she moves back in with her brother because of a breakup. And one of the days when she's like wallowing over her breakup, her brother invites her out with him and his friends. But it ends up actually only being one friend, and they really hit it off. They have this instant draw to each other. But frustratingly, he wouldn't go out with her until he could talk to her brother about it, but he never actually talked to her brother about it. But they kept hanging out while he said he was gonna talk to her brother and then never did. And so obviously that whole situation blew up. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I would have liked to have seen, I don't know how to describe it. Like there was a lot of them spending time together, like before it was official that they were together. And I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of like the together part. Because it's a lot of build up, a little bit of together, and then the brother finds out and it's this big whole thing and that's the end of the book. And I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the actual together part. After that was Remember Me by J.L. Beck and C. Hallman. I met them at Book Bonanza, and then they're going to be at Wanderlust in a couple of weeks. So I wanted to read something by them, and this was a bit, I don't know, it's a dark romance, and I don't want to say it was too dark, but I think it was darker than I realized. So it's about, I also didn't realize that it's the 5th in a series, and so there was a lot of info that I like wasn't in on. But it's about the like hitman for, I'm assuming, a mafia family. I never quite understood that. But he knew the main character back, I want to say high school age, teenagers, but she ended up leaving their hometown and he ended up getting caught into the mafia family. But he always like kept an eye on her, and she witnesses something that she shouldn't see, and so he goes to protect her. I don't know how to describe this. Like even now describing it, I'm like, no, there is something that I'm missing with this. And like I did only give this one 3 stars, but I also feel like it was a high enough 3-star where I want to go like read the rest of the series to see what it is I'm missing. Yeah. After that, I read Ivy by Willa Nash, Devney Perry. This is so good. I gave it 5 stars. I don't want to say too much about it. It's 3 college roommates, so it is a new adult. They all have love interests. They all have secrets. It's a wild ride, but I highly recommend. After that, I picked up We Own Tonight by Corinne Michaels. I gave this one 3 stars. So I knew going into this one that it was New Kids on the Block, like fan fiction type. Like the main character goes to a concert and gets pulled up on stage by the love interest, and then they hook up after the concert. And like I knew that it was, I think, Johnny Wahlberg fan fiction, or like fan fiction-esque. But in Corinne Michaels' fashion, she added a more like serious tone to it. Like the main character's sister has a terminal illness, and I just, like I kind of wish that wasn't in there. I kind of wish she had just gone like pure rom-com for this story. I felt like it would have made a lot more sense, but, and then towards the end, we find out that the love interest has a chronic illness, and I don't think that that rep was very good. I felt like it was very doom and gloom and like the dark side of what it could be. But like he had known he'd had it for 10 years and was like for the most part dealing with it until he met her and didn't want her to see him like that. I don't know how to describe it. I didn't enjoy the illness rep in it. But yeah, I gave this some 3 stars. Then I read The Bluff by Willa Nash, Devney Perry. I gave this one 5 stars. This is a marriage of convenience. Reese Hux, his name is Hux in the book. Like they called him Hux. Anyway, he is trying to get a better custody situation of his teenage daughter. And so he is, like at the beginning, he and Everly are in a kind of a benefits situation. They're not really friends. They just kind of hook up. But she like overhears him joking with his lawyer about maybe if he had a wife, then the custody arrangement would go more in his favor. And so she volunteers to be his wife. She's new to town. I think she was just kind of looking for a place to fit in. But yeah, I give some 5 stars. I love A Marriage of Convenience. And finally, the last book that I read was Neanderthal by Avery Flynn. Again, I don't understand the name of this, like the names of the books in this series, because he prefers, like just because he's quieter, and I think she said he grunted a couple of times instead of like responding to her with words when she didn't really ask him a question that needed like a long explanation. Like he's not a Neanderthal. Like he's not. Anyway, I liked this one. This one was pretty insta-lovey though. It was kind of that same situation of, or well, no, I guess not quite the same situation. So they have the bet. So this one is Griff, and he meets Kinsey and just absolutely falls for her. And so he like tells his cousins that he's out of the bet, he's done. And then he finds out that Kinsey is engaged. But Kinsey's not really engaged because she works in a very male-dominated field, and so she just wears an engagement ring and pretends to have a fiance so that they will leave her alone. So yeah, it's pretty insta-lovey after they figure all of that out. Like, he always wants her, and she always wants him, like, throughout the whole book. But, like, once the fiance is out of the way, they're pretty much together the whole time. So that is going to be my August wrap-up. If you've read any of these, let me know what you thought about them down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Bye!